is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Justified, Season 6, Episode 12, Collateral. In this episode... Oh, right. Boyd's a bad guy. Not just the bad guy. He's kind of a bad guy. Welcome to Unspoiled.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off with lonesome. I'm fighting for my soul, God, get at you, boy. You try to go hard, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off with lonesome.
He is indeed.
Yo, I forget that, because he's just so likable.
He is, but he will do what he needs to do. Shooting hillbillies left and right.
Oh, man. I felt so bad for this guy. And this actor, too. He's in so many things, and he's just, really likable to me right away. And I was just, this episode was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, Tim Forever. Please give him his own spinoff. Thank you.
Yeah, Tim holds it down. Mm-hmm. He definitely does. They pack a lot into these 45 minutes. I mean, I guess they have to because they've only got 45 minutes left. But,
right.
But yeah, we are rapidly approaching our finale, and we have almost a near finale. What feels like it could be a near finale in this episode.
Yeah.
But then it's not.
Ta-da! Yeah, it's crazy how it ends. Like it feels like it ends in the middle of a scene, and not in a bad way. I don't mean that as a negative, because that's pretty good, to be honest. I would rather, if you're going for this big thing, split it up like that. You know what? I don't know. I feel good about it. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, we have a lot to talk about. Well, why don't I first say hi, everybody? In case you're just tuning in for some reason, I'm Alan.
If you are, what are you doing? I'm Natasha.
And we have 6 other seasons for you to listen to before you listen to this episode. So, so I would recommend to those of you just joining us to turn this episode off, go leave a review on iTunes, and go all the way back to Season 1, Episode 1, and then catch back up with us later. Don't worry, we'll wait.
That's us waiting.
All right. Hey, we're caught up. Welcome back, everybody.
So yeah, this episode, Collateral.
Yeah. Written by Chris Provenzano and VJ Boyd, directed by Michael Pressman. This is the last episode for all 3 of them. Chris Provenzano in particular has been around with us for a very long time. But this is all 3 of them, their Justified finales, and it's a good one, I think. Mm-hmm. We open on the roadside with that truck that we saw Boyd take off after last episode. And you weren't quite sure who was in it. And it turns out nobody of importance.
It's true, except so important. Am I right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it is just a dude. And we open on him being pulled over by a cop and him offering to, get his license and registration. But the cop does not want it because it is Boyd who would rather pull a gun on him and ask for a ride. And then we have a little musical interlude where we have Art and Raylan setting the scene for us for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, this was kind of I don't know. I just really enjoy him walking by himself in a dark area and being, badass on his own at the end of the last episode. And then all of a sudden, it's light out.
Yeah, he's apparently been walking. He walked down the road until he was out of road, and then just kept walking into the hills.
Until the sun came up the next day. I was like, listen, show, I'm going to just let that slide, but don't pretend like I didn't notice that. That was a long-ass time that he's been out here. I don't really know, what he's been doing this whole time, but I guess just driving? I guess stealing Constable Bob's car and driving.
Yes. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, and I don't want to let this go by. Art shows up at Raylan's car, where Tim is already there. He's got Earl in Raylan's back seat.
Mm-hmm.
And Art sees Raylan's badge and Marshall's ID on the front seat. He goes, Jesus Christ, Raylan. Just like friggin' drama queen. And I really just like that. And and then we find Raylan in the woods, inexplicably in the daylight, and he is meeting with the hill folk.
Yeah.
Specifically, this guy.
I didn't think they were coming back.
No, why would you? Why would you? It's the strangest thing. He meets with this guy named Cope, and they do remember each other from season 4, where Raylan and Boyd got captured, and they were on their way to get thrown down a mine shaft.
Yeah, they were. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, me too. But Raylan is back, and he is not falling for any of their shit this time.
No.
Yes.
He is on top of this to a point where it almost feels like he has a superpower. But
a little bit. I'm
okay with it. It's the last 2 episodes. They can kind of do whatever they want, and I'm going to be like, that's fine.
Yeah, this is really him. He is so far beyond Hillfolk. This is him at level 50 going back to the first dungeon in the game, mm-hmm. and just beating on some goblins.
Yep.
So, he gets all the Hillfolk out in the open because although Cope looks like he's alone, he is not. And he convinces them to lay down their rifles, and Cope is going for a walk with him. And he'll be back in about an hour if he doesn't do something stupid.
Mm-hmm. Which, that seemed like a pretty fair deal, but I was, waiting for them to come popping back up again.
Yeah.
I thought that they would have followed them. But I guess that they're just kind of taking him at his word, I guess. Or at least
Cope told them to,
actually
lay back,
listen.
And so that's what they're doing. Yeah. Exactly. And we then go briefly to Groob's cabin, where Ava and Zachariah are arguing because Zachariah is digging a grave for the dead guy, and Ava just wants to keep going because she's convinced Boyd's coming for the money.
Yeah, this, it's really hard to watch this. I'm not trying to say that this scene isn't necessary because there is really no reason from his perspective to think that Boyd is still alive. So I get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
And what's killing me is that Ava's irritating me, even though we know Ava's right. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's the way this actress is playing this right now, but there's something about the way that she's begging. It feels like she could just go, and I understand that she doesn't want to leave him, but I wish that she would, her tone sounds like a petulant child.
Yeah.
And I wish she would just take control and be like, well, I'm leaving. You can stay if you want. And she finally does, but we don't actually really see the moment when she decides that. We come into it after she has just gone finally,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we've been following, especially this season, these 3 stories, and Raylan is on point and driving headlong towards his conclusion. Boyd is on point, driving headlong towards his conclusion. Ava is coming apart at the seams and spinning in a circle. And that's unfortunate considering how in charge she has become over the last 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's not her being hysterical is not where we want her to be right now.
Yeah, and it just doesn't. It, like you said, she's come so far. She shot Boyd and took off. She is a woman who has gotten to the point where it feels like she should be prepared to do whatever it takes, and all of a sudden she's not, and is listening to this dude who isn't trusting her instincts about this. And like I said, I don't feel like it makes sense that he doesn't believe Boyd is alive, because why would you? Because that's crazy. Because the fact that he survived this is a little silly. At the same time, it wouldn't do you guys any harm, even if he's not alive, to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I think, like, he thinks that it would, that they're putting themselves more at risk by bailing, but, like, this is the thing that I always have trouble with, and it's probably, if I wound up in this actual situation, maybe I wouldn't take my own advice, but whenever in movies, TV, books, whatever, somebody needs to flee and they go somewhere that someone might have an inkling they would go at all, it really drives me crazy. Go somewhere utterly unknowable. Someplace you have never been. Someplace that is, like, you know, it just... They keep on talking about how Boyd's probably the only one who knows about this place. But they had talked about it in front of other people, this guy, and maybe they don't know where, but it just feels like this is not close enough knowledge to depend on it for something as crucial as a hiding place forever. Do you get what I mean? Like a permanent hideout.
Totally.
So this is something I see in a lot of stuff where it's like, well, where would he go? Well, he has a cousin in Nebraska. And yeah, it turns out the guy fled to his cousins in Nebraska. Don't go to your fucking family, guys. Like, I understand the instinct to do that, but that's immediately where they're going to look. Things like that. And, you know, like I said, I don't know what I'd do in that situation. Maybe I'd do something just as dumb. But I just can't think that I would want to be anywhere that they could even put two and two together, you know?
I totally with you, and I think that that's almost what frustrates me about the way that she's acting. Is I think she's acting in a way that's actually really realistic, and I think her freaking out is totally understandable. She's been under so much pressure for so long, and maybe she's finally starting to process everything she's been through, especially everything in the last 36 hours. You know, but yeah, it just feels like it feels like she should be smarter than this. She should be more put together than this. And she doesn't seem like she's on par with everybody else.
Yeah.
And even though, you know, again, you're right. That is the smart thing to do, is to just go throw a dart at a map and go there.
Yeah. And I just feel like if you go somewhere like that, there's just, I don't feel like there's a downside to that in short.
Yeah.
So I feel like he should be on board with the idea of just running, but evidently not. So what are you going to do?
Right. So our last scene before our opening credits are Raylan and Cope again, and they're moving up the mountain, and they're talking about Boyd and about Raylan and what Raylan's doing here. Is it business or personal? And he also says that after the last time they met, he did eventually figure out who Raylan is, and he does remember his dad. And it turns out Arlo was a son of a bitch who used them to transport his drugs for him.
Do you know what he did? Do you mean in general or on a specific day? That's pretty good. Yeah.
And so, almost understandably, Cope tries to make a move to escape, and Raylan, just plants him on his back. And then he takes this notebook that Cope has, and he writes not a last will and testament, but like a thing. In case he doesn't come back, I am bequeathing my house and land to these people.
Now, listen. Is it just me, or does this give them a really good reason to kill him? Am I crazy?
You are not crazy.
Like, I don't know. It just, when he did that, I was like, you just totally, and I don't know that this is what's going to happen, because it feels like that's adding a whole other thing on top of everything that's extra crazy, and I don't think they're going to do that, but like, I wouldn't be surprised that these woods are filled with hillbillies next episode, just trying to get Raylan.
That would be kind of amazing.
And I don't know
versus Boyd in the midst of a hillbilly army bearing down on the town of Harlan.
And it turns out the hillbillies get Boyd in the end, not Raylan or the cops.
That would be amazing.
But like, I also don't know like how well that would hold up in court. Well, he signed this paper in the woods, like,
Yeah, but that's a thing that people do, I think. I mean, I guess maybe that's just me going off of TV, but you sign off on like I said, a last will and testament on a napkin in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that the executor of your estate is able to use to convince your sister that she can't have the chandelier or whatever.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, but I think it's more to the point, though. I believe that is Raylan letting go of his stuff that he's been holding on to for so long. And, good for him.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he does say his priority right now, and Cope is completely bewildered by this, but Raylan just says, I don't need this. I need to get Boyd and to get to Florida. That is his priority. Those are his priorities in that order. Period. Full stop.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, all right. I'm just going to put that weird little thing in the background there and stick it in the box and lock that box and put it away, because that just got me real paranoid, but
we'll see.
Right.
We will see. Could be a hillbilly uprising anytime now.
Right.
So we come back from credits, and we are in the morgue with Avery Markham and the body of Catherine Hale. And he is soliloquizing over her.
Yeah.
Which, it's sad. It could be kind of cliche, except for he does start the scene by saying, I always thought this was ridiculous when I saw people do this. But now that it's me, I just feel like I got stuff to say.
This is something that I was talking about a little while ago, just like on The Leftovers, I think, because death and grief is such a huge part of that whole show. Have you watched Leftovers?
I have not. It's on my list, but no.
Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of people in Leftovers who have lost someone, and not just because of the like huge event that happened, but in a lot of different ways they've lost people. And I was saying initially that I just don't understand this like preoccupation that people have with like what happened to someone's body. When, for example, if somebody's grave is in one place and they don't want to move away, things like that. And I feel like as I'm getting older, I get it a little bit more, because it's like the only thing you've got left, and it still isn't something that I feel like would dictate to me. But I feel like I understand it better. And when he was like, I never understood, but I feel like I have things to say. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I can't imagine, especially it being such a shock, this woman,
sure.
He just had no indication that this was something that was going to happen. And, yeah, I just really felt for him in this scene. And I felt like he underplayed it a lot, which I actually kind of liked. Like, he's alone with her and he could cry if he wanted, but he doesn't really like let it happen, which feels fair. I'm not somebody who lets myself cry unless I'm in a position where I know I can really cry. And in a room that echoes with strange people probably right outside, that's not happening. I just wouldn't be able to cry, I don't think. And I thought that the whole way that this scene went, and him being like, why couldn't you just have done what you were told for once in your life? Like, it's said in this, he's so frustrated, but also that's what he loved about her, that she didn't do what she was told. And like, he's saying, why couldn't you just have, but he knows why, because that's not her. And that's why he loved her, Right. And it's just so sad. Like, I really enjoy the two of them, and it's a bummer that this ended up this way.
Yeah. That's what a life of crime gets you.
Right.
Not saying it's fair, I'm just saying it's the way it is. I say from lots of experience. Yeah, and he mourns her a little bit, and why didn't she trust him enough to let him take care of Duffy? And he ends by telling her that he will always love her, and he wants nothing more than to go after Duffy himself right now, but he is more practical than that, and he's got to go get his money.
I wish he wasn't. I mean, I'm glad he's practical. Like, honestly, I really respect that. But also, I just, just go. Like, but it's
gotta,
$10 million. I know why you can't just go.
Right.
Just get out, though. This isn't going to go well. He's going to die. Everybody's going to die, I feel like.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that question. We're going to get to that question. Right now, though, we are going to go to the marshal's office, speaking of Wynn Duffy, where he is being released. And before he is, he's escorted to the meeting room with Vasquez. Mm-hmm. And he's going through a box of items that they took from the Winnebago, including a tennis ball signed by Billie Jean King, and a Boy Scout pocket knife, and a tube of toothpaste, maybe, because Duffy has sensitive gums.
It's prescription. Oh, Duffy, please never change. You're the best.
Yeah.
I'm so happy because I really thought with the whole Catherine thing that Duffy was going to be taken out of the equation before the end of the season. Yeah. And we're going to be on the last episode and he's still alive. Yeah. Thank you. I really want him to be the one that gets out, but I don't think he will. But I really want, honestly, Raylan could even die, but just don't kill Duffy.
You want Duffy alone standing on the ashes of Harlan?
A little bit. Because he's been he's so careful. And he can be really smart about things. But also, the decision that he's making here is not the smartest he's made. So I guess maybe if he dies, he deserves it a little bit. But still, I like him.
We will see. We will see. So we also find out the feds have frozen all of his bank accounts. He is free to take his RV, but he doesn't want it. And Vasquez asks if it's bad memories. And Duffy says, well, Raylan Givens, Boyd Crowder, and Avery Markham are soon to converge, Mr. Vasquez, like the aligning of the planets if those planets carried guns and hated my guts. I don't ever plan on returning to Kentucky.
Yeah, I think that he's very convincing in that moment.
Well, it's a little. I like that turn of phrase, but still, take the RV because it will get you out of Kentucky faster.
Yeah, but they can track it.
I suppose.
That's the opposite of what he wants.
Fair enough. So Duffy does take his box of stuff, and Vasquez stops him to ask him one final question off the record. Between the two of them, who really did it? Who killed Simon Poole? It was Vasquez's boss. And Duffy looks him straight in the face and says, between you and me, Mr. Vasquez, I really don't know.
What a sneaky little snake.
It's a weasel. The kindest of terms.
I just I just love him so much.
Yeah, I also do not expect Vasquez to take anything that he promises as off the record and actually keep it off the record.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah, good on you, Duffy. Back at the cabin, Ava and Zachariah are finishing up burial, and Ava just throws the shovel away as quickly as she can. And they're listening to the portable radio to a police band, and they learn that there's a fugitive search for Boyd. So not only is he alive, but he is on the loose and armed and dangerous. And Ava is in hysterics. She collapses on the ground. And her plan is to get back down the mountain as fast as possible.
I mean, that makes sense. But
and
again, what she's saying makes sense, but right here, when she just collapses and then starts laughing and says, don't you get it? It's a joke. I was just like, oh, whatever, lady. I just got so irritated,
I do. I do. And I share your irritation, unfortunately. Which is, like I said, I've enjoyed her so much more this time through than I think I did the first time. That I don't know that this bothered me the same way because I wasn't quite as invested in her. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it really is I don't love this character development of hers.
Yeah.
But yeah, she wants to run back down the mountain, and Zachariah wants to stay exactly where they are and wait for him. And then as soon as he gets here, they will shoot him.
It's just so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not the worst plan in the world in general. It's, better than a convoluted scheme of some sort or running randomly through the woods. But
Kind of.
but only kind of.
The thing is, like, that if Boyd is approaching this place with the suspicion that they're there, and if he is bent on revenge, and if he has been here before, just waiting for him to walk in and then shooting him, and as we see, it doesn't work. It's just, he is a strategic thinker. He is going to know exactly the way that you're going to plan to come at him, and he's going to bait you, which is exactly what he does. Like, it went precisely the way I expected it to go. And Zachariah, I think, underestimates Boyd the way everybody else underestimates Boyd, but for him, it's out of like a personal contempt. It's a different thing. It's not just, oh, he's a hillbilly who doesn't know. He just straight up thinks Boyd is trash. So, which, he is. That's fair.
Well, do you think Zachariah would have fallen for Boyd's thing if Ava had stayed there with him?
No. Well, wait. Do you think he would have fallen do you mean like, would he have walked outside and been like, oh, where are you?
Essentially, yes. Would things
No.
have gone down the same way? Because I feel like Ava knows Boyd well enough where she wouldn't necessarily walk into that trap. I don't know that it would have turned out better for them in the end, but I don't think it would have gone down that way.
No, I just don't, like, mainly, I feel like, I can't imagine that Ava, she would never let him walk outside, but she wouldn't set this up. They'd be hiding in the woods, I feel like. That's what I would do. If I were in their shoes, I would be in the woods with the house set up looking like we were in there. Maybe a radio on, the lights on, whatever. And then I would jump him from the back when he goes to the door or the window or wherever.
Makes sense.
And I feel like Ava knows him well enough that she might have done something like that instead. But okay. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to read Ava. I'm not sure that the writers really know Ava that well either. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So we go then to Boyd, and he is with the civilian driver that he kidnapped. His name is Hagen, Mr. Hagen, I believe. Mm-hmm. And they're at this guy's place. He's given Boyd his son's clothes, so he's back to looking the way Boyd looks. And he is, as smoothly as possible, trying to convince Boyd to take his truck and go. I think do you think he believes what he's saying?
At that moment, like, which do you think who believes who? Who's saying?
I'm sorry. Yeah, pronouns. Hagen is talking about Boyd in sort of his Robin Hood reputation, and how he says later, "You're the closest thing we got here to Billy the Kid. They put out your greatest hits to be a double album."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, do you think that Boyd is falling for his adulation?
Yes, but also, do you think Hagen means what he says?
I think he's doing this smart thing where he's saying what he's heard people say.
Okay.
And everything he's saying, there's very little in there that's specifically praise. Boyd takes it as praise because in his eyes it is. But this guy specifically is like, you have a double album, all killer, no filler, our own Billy the Kid. Those are all kind of objectively true, but not specifically a compliment unless you think they're a compliment. Do you get what I mean?
I do, and that's a really good point.
I think that he does, I'm putting quotes around believe what he's saying in that kind of way that, the fairies in Dresden Files are telling the truth. in quotes, when they say shit because they're not allowed to lie. Like, they can deceive even though they can't lie. And that's what he's telling the truth and still deceiving.
Okay. That makes sense. And, and Boyd he's happy to play right into it, except he's also smart enough to know I need this guy along because the cops are looking for me and just me. So why don't the two of us keep going together?
I don't understand this. Tell me, okay, does Boyd think that this guy's going to call the cops as soon as Boyd's driven away?
I think there's a chance.
Because the way that he phrases it, they're not looking for you, they're just looking for me, made me think Boyd was going to ride in the trunk or something.
Well,
Or just hide in the back seat. Just basically be out of sight because they're not looking for you and you'll be my driver. And yet Boyd's riding right up shotgun. So that kind of got shot to hell, that theory on my part.
I think that's part of it, but I also think that they're looking for one guy on the run alone. And if you're with me, they're going to be less suspicious of two guys in a truck than they are of just one guy in a truck.
I guess so.
That's how I took it.
I just wish Boyd did anything to disguise himself. Get a hat and sunglasses, anything. But he's just out there,
Yeah, that's always surprising to me. But I think that might be a TV conceit more than anything else. Or it could just be that Boyd is in love with himself enough that he wouldn't disguise himself that way.
That's true. Yeah. He's pretty arrogant.
Yes. But we leave Boyd for a little bit, and we go to Loretta, who has hired her ex-boyfriend Derek as a bodyguard, and they are holed up in her barn. And Derek is having a lot of fun, it seems like. He gets to have a gun, he gets to be a big man.
Mm-hmm.
I get to be alone in the barn with my pretty ex-friend. And she is not at all in the mood for this because she is very aware that people are out to kill her. And if he came here to get back together, then he is a damn fool.
I loved this for multiple reasons. One being that there's a piece of me that thinks that he thinks she made up an excuse to hang out with him. That she's not even really in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Then there is the fact that both him and Boone are trying to get in her pants, and how fucking tiresome this must be for her. Holy shit. Just,
so happy I'm not a girl.
And that, it's one of those things that I feel like if I were a different person, I'd be like, come on, do we have to have everybody trying to get with her? But it feels very, very real. It feels completely accurate to what it's like being her age and being pretty. Even the people who aren't trying to fuck you are kind of on the DL, well, I would fuck you though. A little bit. You know what I mean? Just
you were bored and I was bored. Who knows what could happen? Whatever.
Just listen to your body, God. So yeah, I just really enjoy that she's stuck between these two fucking idiots who are both. And I felt really bad because when Boone's like, I've got a lot to teach you, girl. Part of me was like, yo, if he wasn't batshit, they would make an amazing team. But he is. He's.
Don't know that I see that, but okay.
I feel like they would make an amazing team in that I feel like she'd be the brains. She'd be the Avery, Okay. And he would be the muscle and would listen to her and whatever. But he would teach her some things about just in general how to be how to be more practically clever. She's mentally clever. And I could just see them. If he, like I said, wasn't a fucking psychopath, I could see them really complementing one another in the way that they operate. But it's a shame because he is a psychopath and he's terrible. So I just really like his character and I kind of want to make excuses for him. Okay, just leave me alone.
All right, I can get behind that. That much you got me with. All right, so they suddenly hear one of the traps they've set snap off outside the barn, and they go to peer through a crack in the wall to see what happened. And as Boone says, that's really, really stupid, because suddenly he is right behind them.
Oh my God. I just couldn't, like, it really is an amateur move. When they both turn and I was definitely doing, come on.
Now, in fairness, they're amateurs.
Exactly. So the fact that the show lampshaded it and had Boone point it out, I was like, all right, that's fine. Because if they hadn't had him say anything about it, it would have just bothered me. But they point out, and, you know, they shouldn't have to lampshade it because I know that these are kids, but it just made me feel better.
That's fair. And, so Boone starts running his mouth, and Loretta, knowing who she's dealing with, puts down her gun when he tells her to. Mm-hmm. Derek, deciding this is his opportunity to be a big man, decides to look him in the eye and look as tough as he can. And
I admire that, but also I don't feel like he'd do that if he knew anything about who he's dealing with here.
No, not at all.
He's really because Boone does look a little goofy, so I could understand just being like, oh, all right. I mean, if we're going to do this, but there's a vibe that comes off him that, he looks goofy, but you should figure out in a second or two just how, but he has to put on a good face in front of her. He has to impress his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. And Boone gives him that opening of showing him that my gun was not loaded, and it's in a holster, and yours is loaded and is just right by your side. You've totally got it over me if you really wanted to. And Derek draws on him while Boone is in the middle of a sentence, and he barely flinches before Derek is on the ground with a hole in his shoulder.
Yeah, it's really fast. I love when he's like, you might be wondering if I'm too fast for you. I am.
Yep.
I can't lie. I enjoyed this. I felt bad because him tormenting a kid is, fucked up, but the kid's also a shit.
Exactly. We know Derek, and Derek's fucking stupid. So I'm okay with it.
I'm sorry, Derek.
So he then moves in to caress Loretta's hair and leans in close and says, "Don't worry, I forgive you."
Oh my God, was that the best line? What a creep. There is literally nothing else he could have said that would have creeped me out as much as that line.
And I also love he gets this little hitch in his voice when he is forced to call Derek her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's such a great little micro moment.
I mean, he's got a full-blown delusion.
Yes.
It's so...
Oh, totally.
It kind of infuriates me that Boone is so clearly drawn out and is such an understanding... I understand him as a character, implicitly, and I feel like it's been 6 seasons and the writers still don't quite understand Ava. They got him nailed down in 4 episodes, and her they've had all this time, and they're just felt like they were starting to get it, but what are you gonna do? They did better with her than I expected from season 1. I'll say that.
Good.
But,
I'm glad you feel that way. So we go back to the marshal's office, and Vasquez squares off with Nelson, of all people, who has been left to, what does he say? He's coordinating?
Oh my God. I just love that because it's the Vegas stupidest word. Yeah. I'm coordinating. And Vasquez shoves all his stuff off his desk. What? He's such a fucking little bitch in this episode.
Oh, yeah. He is just... The entire episode is a Vasquez temper tantrum. Every time he's on screen.
It's so good.
Yeah. And, but he's pissed. He's figured out the marshals are closing ranks around Raylan in order to, as he puts it, avoid a PR nightmare. Yeah. And essentially, they've put out a thing to say, like, hey, if you happen to see Raylan, please pick him up because there's a guy out to hurt him, and that's standard procedure. And Vasquez goes way over the, not over the top, I guess, but he goes in a different direction. He calls the FBI and puts out a bolo to be on the lookout for this dude who is dangerous, fugitive, escaped with his girlfriend, $2 million, blah, 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 blah. And Tim shows up in the middle of everything, and Tim, being Tim, just has absolutely no time for Vasquez.
Oh my god!
Just no respect, no
This
interest in
attitude's
feeding
just
into him.
really not helpful. Like, he's so disinterested, and Vasquez is so mad. This whole thing is so fucking funny.
And this is right after their interaction. Vasquez goes to the phone to tell them exactly what they need to do, and Tim is 5 feet away from him, calling Art and relaying everything that Vasquez is saying.
Guys, I watched this episode 3 times, and I laughed out loud a couple times during this scene. Every single time. I think my favorite part, weirdly, was when he's like, hey, Art, what's up? Hold on. Let me get some... okay. What'd you say? Hey, Art, what's up? In the exact same tone of voice. Oh, God, Tim, just never, ever change, ever, please. I just want him to be I want him to be in another show. But, like, you know, not the actor. I want Tim, the character, to be in something else. And he doesn't have to even be the main character. They could act like it's a spinoff just to get people interested and then have somebody else be the main guy. Because I almost feel like he's so great because he's not the main guy. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, if it were just him, I'm imagining a spinoff called Tim with an exclamation point at the end of it. And it would just be an abysmal failure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he should be more things. They need to create a justified cinematic universe where Tim can just wander in and out of other shows.
I love that when he's relaying everything to Art, like you said, he's standing not even 10 feet away. He's facing Vasquez. He's like got his arm, like elbow on the partition between the desks as he's looking at him. Like, there is absolutely no pretense whatsoever here. He is really just trolling Vasquez, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. And I love that Vasquez never even looks over at him because he's just not, he's like, I'm not doing this with you, Tim. I'm not even going to give you the benefit of looking at you. Like, he glanced up for like a second, but doesn't seem to really make eye contact because he's just like, nope, I'm not taking this bait. I know what you're doing. Oh, these two. Vasquez is just so unexpectedly like such a shit this season. He's been so reasonable, you know, and then all of a sudden, but I'm all right with it because he's not a big enough character that I'm like, what are they doing with this character? This isn't who he is, because I don't care about Vasquez, so it's fine.
Yeah, he did kind of just become like one of the gang almost. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good way of reminding us like he's really not one of the gang.
Yeah.
So, so we go to, I don't know if it's the last person you expected, but somebody who has not been a part of the story.
Yeah.
The Bolo brings Bob Sweeney to the rescue. Except he comes outside and Raylan apparently stole his Crown Vic. So he's got to go get the gremlin out of mothballs.
Listen, this car, I don't think we ever saw that the name of it was a gremlin. Did we know that already?
Well, that's the type of car it is a gremlin.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like, have we, because they really focus in on the model name as the camera's panning up. And I don't feel like they've done that before, and I had no idea that there was a car named a gremlin.
Yes. Yep, that's a gremlin.
I'm looking it up right now, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's really, like, back-heavy. It's so weird because there's, like, it could almost fool you into thinking that it's a real, like, classic car, but it just has a dorky enough look to it. It's a really perfect pick. You know?
Oh, Well, that's kind of. Did you ever like watch the Game Show Network or something? And there'll be Wheel of Fortune from the '80s, where The Price is Right, and they'll like, you could win a new car, and it is like the boxiest, crappiest looking thing. Except in 1987, it was the shit.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So yeah, Bob Sweeney enters the scene.
Yeah, I was like, when I realized he was going to be taking part, I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this. Like, I feel if not for the previous like inclusion of him in the story where he really redeemed himself and proved himself to like be a badass with taking torture and not caving and whatnot, I would have been like, oh God, you know. But he's proved himself enough that now I'm like, oh shit, okay, all right, Constable Bob, let's see your weird shit. You bring it to the table.
I'm 1,000% okay with him getting to finish his story here.
Right.
So we then go to Group's cabin where Raylan has arrived, and he finds Zachariah, who says, "You ain't Boyd." Raylan says, "Neither are you."
You guys are very observant. Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate you not shooting me. Likewise. And then Raylan says, "Where is Ava?" And it turns out Ava is scurrying down the mountain.
Scurrying is such a good word. Yes.
I wish that was my word. That was in the wiki, and it's completely perfect. Yeah.
Oh, God. I've mentioned this before, but in Daria, there's an episode. Yeah, I'm talking about Daria. Get off my case, all right?
Hey, Daria's fucking awesome.
She's in the woods with her parents and her sister eat some weird berries that like are hallucinogenic because they are trying to like be in the wild, and they eat these berries.
I remember this episode.
You remember that? And her mom comes up to her and is like, "Have you seen?" And she like keeps like seeing this thing, and Daria, of course, can't see it. And she's like, "Have you seen it? It came right up to me, and then it just scampered off." And Daria just looks at her, and there's this long pause, and then she just goes, "Scampered?" So that's what I always think of. So yeah, she's scurrying or ... scampered. Oh, Ava, why are you so bad at this, though? Come on, girl.
Yeah, this is not her finest hour, but she is. She's got on a decent-sized backpack, and she's leaving a message on someone's voicemail and asking for a callback.
Yeah. Well, that's going to go well.
Yeah, always, naturally. So then we go back to Duffy in Lexington, and he meets with this lady on a park bench, and she's listed only as a supplier.
I wish so much that we had met her before, because I also want her to get a spin-off show. Maybe she and like Tim could be arch enemies or something.
I could be okay with that. Just sort of a like laconic snark off. Totally. And yeah, he wants from her a used dog grooming van with enough space enough space for 2 or 3 very large duffel bags in a hidden compartment by tomorrow.
Yeah, so she says triple what you paid last time. And he pulls the fucking jewels out of his toothpaste bottle.
And
that's
they're
pure genius. Mm-hmm. How did he even get them in there? He must have cut the end open and then rolled it up.
Yeah, or it's false bottom all along, like Nedry in Jurassic Park.
Oh, God. Dotson. We got Dotson here.
See, nobody cares. Yeah, and this is Catherine's jewelry that he took off of her dead body, including her engagement ring.
Yeah, he says keep the change, and I really want to know, like, what she could get. What is that really worth,
It's a good question.
I just have a hard time because, like, when I got divorced, I was really hurting for money, and I decided to pawn my engagement ring. We paid over $2,000 for that fucking thing, and I got $300 for it. And I know that when you're in this kind of business, you're probably better at fencing shit and you don't go to some sketchy pawn shop. Actually, I didn't pawn it at a pawn shop. I went to a jewelry store. But still, you know, just what things cost are not necessarily what they are worth, which is another reason why I do not want a diamond engagement ring if I get engaged again, because that's such a ripoff. Like, I understand people wanting them and they're gorgeous, but like after that, it made me so mad. So yeah, I just kind of wondered how much he really paid her there, you know?
I know. Well, I can't remember if we talked about this and whether or not it was on the air if we did. But did you know there's like a whole market for used engagement rings, like online? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's when I was looking to propose to Amanda, and I am similarly strapped for cash. Maybe not the same situation you were in, but I certainly did not really have enough for a ring. Mm-hmm. I started browsing. There are online sites where you can sell your old engagement rings to other people to use. Mm-hmm. And there was something about the bad juju on that I was not totally cool with.
Yeah, I really, like, I don't consider myself a real superstitious person, but, yeah, same.
Yeah, me neither.
If I were going to do that, I think I would have to do some kind of, like, cleansing ritual with salt water and a sage, because that would just feel like I was inviting some failure into my marriage, you know, like... Yeah. And, you know... I got a fresh new engagement ring and my marriage still failed, so you know, whatever.
Exactly. But... So who knows? Who knows? But yeah, there was a moment there where I thought about that, and I'm glad I didn't go that route. But all the same, it's, you know, kind of interesting and not really all that surprising that it's out there. So yeah, he tells her to keep the change, and she asks if there's anything else, and he goes, "Yeah, actually, a topographic map of Harlan County would be great."
Yeah, once he said that, I was like, don't do this.
Yeah, what's that about?
Oh, God. So, he's gonna go try and find that money.
You think so?
He knows where she went. Why wouldn't he? Him and Boyd worked together forever. I bet he knows all Boyd's fucking contacts. I bet he knows so much more than he ever let Boyd know he knew. Because that's the kind of person he is, because he keeps shit in his back pocket for when he needs it. Because he's smart, and he doesn't just play his whole hand every time. This fucking guy is going to wind up in the mountains, and he's going to die, and he's going to disappoint me so much.
Only one way to find out. You'll know in 45 minutes. So, we then go back to Group's cabin, where... Raylan's trying to find out where Ava's headed. Zachariah claims he does not know. And finally, Raylan leans on him, and the guy kind of tears into Raylan and says, like, you and Boyd are exactly the same. You've been tearing her apart.
Lisa,
thank you.
Sorry, everyone.
Nope. If you didn't finish it, I was gonna.
But yeah.
I
mean, he's not... I feel like the show wants us a little bit to be like, oh, him and Boyd are, you know, dark reflection of one another. But I don't really think that's true.
I think that there was a point... Raylan, I think, is still grappling with that. And there was a point in the show where I think that was still... You could make a case about that. Mm-hmm. But by this point, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's, I think the real thing is, and I said this before about when she talks to Boyd about what was going on with her, but I don't feel like Raylan or Boyd has a clear idea of what was at stake for Ava when it comes to going back to prison.
Yeah.
So part of me feels like he's accusing the two of them for, like, victimizing her, and she didn't handle herself very well. I feel like they could have written her as actually telling them in detail what was happening to her, and they never do that. And so now, after I thought that they were having her be kind of strong and taking charge, she, like, waits way too long before she bails, and then her uncle's over here talking about her like she had no choices in anything that was happening. And I think This is one of those lines where you're like, am I supposed to think this, or is this supposed to just really be his opinion? Because I feel like, again, the show is trying to push me to think that this is accurate, that what he's saying is the truth. I feel like that the way that it was all worded and the way it was presented was the show kind of like trying to call Raylan and Boyd out here, but it felt like they were completely taking all of her agency away. So I kind of want to ignore it and pretend that they aren't really saying that. That fair?
Okay. I think so. I think so. I mean, I hate to say that one of like the central tenets of the show, because it really has been something that, especially early on, they tried to lean hard on.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say that one of those things has in fact already been figured out, and that they're just spinning their wheels on it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But you make a good case that is in fact what's going on. Yeah, it's no longer the most interesting thing. I think there is still a question of how much of a good guy is Raylan really, but I don't think that comparing the two of them, like you said, that whole Dark Mirror thing, is really a thing anymore.
Yeah, I just feel like they basically they kind of like backtracked and turned Ava into a plot device again to just be the thing that's bringing Boyd and Raylan up against each other. And it's super uninteresting. So I was just really hoping that with her bailing the way that she did, that it was that they were subverting my expectations in that regard, and they were going to have her suddenly be the Catherine a little bit, you know, and be kind of large and in charge, and maybe she would be the one that Raylan wound up going up against in the end, which would be kind of rad, you know?
That would have been a really interesting direction to go in.
But it's all about them dudes, so I guess.
Woo, go dudes. My people. So yeah, I think that's a good point. But they go back and forth a little bit about that anyway. Mm-hmm. And eventually Raylan is able to figure out, even though Zachary doesn't tell him anything, that Ava must have a chunk of the money with her, and she must be headed down the mountain because that's way too heavy to go up the mountain. Mm-hmm. And he's off. And he's right, because we then find Ava making her way down the mountain and to a road where she sees Bob's car pulled over on the side.
Which, like, is a little convenient on that entire mountain that she just happens to wind up right where Bob is, but all right, sure.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, you're right.
I have to mention it because I have to mention it, but it really isn't a big deal.
Yeah. And Bob is right there. He has tracked his car, and he has gun drawn, has her dead to rights.
Yeah.
So
I was honestly really impressed with how he handled himself here, because I straight up thought she was going to lunge at him. I kind of thought he was going to die here.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he died before the end of the season. I hope he doesn't, because he just doesn't deserve that. But I expected him to leave himself open and underestimate Ava and give her an opening to, disarm him or something. And he's really careful with her. Like, he seems to recognize that she's totally a threat. Also, when he tells her to get on her knees twice and then says, "I'm sorry if that sounds untoward." Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah.
That is my favorite thing he's ever said. Because I'm not going to lie, when he was yelling, "All right, get on your knees, get on your knees," I was like, ooh, yeah, that doesn't sound great. And then he says, "I'm sorry if that sounds untoward." And I was like, oh, Bob, he's so polite.
Yeah.
Even while he's arresting her, he's like, "I know this is demeaning and I apologize." Oh, he's good.
Yeah, and she hints toward a bribe, which he indignantly refuses. Mm-hmm. And before you try to seduce me, just know it's been tried before.
I forgot about that line. Oh, I would love to see that story.
Sure, why not? And then as he has her get in the gremlin, he tells her, "Get in there. Yeah, I've got an air freshener. It smells like a mocha latte." Like, that's going to make her feel better.
It's really nice in there. This whole thing is just good. This episode is just really good.
And now, not too far away from there, Hagen and Boyd pull up on his pickup truck, and he stops and shuts off the engine. And Ava and Bob hear the truck.
Yeah.
Ava is sure that it's Boyd.
She fucking knows, man. She's not an idiot. She knows this guy. I just wish everybody would fucking listen to her. It's so annoying. And it's so annoying that she's constantly in a position where she's depending on someone else to listen to her.
It's truth. Yeah. Yeah. And Hagen's done. We cut back to the truck, and he has a pretty good idea what Boyd's been thinking about, his loose ends and all that. Mm-hmm. And they have this whole conversation about rules and legacies, and Boyd goes on like this rant, this like philosophical thing about who he is and how this guy thinks he's better than me because he follows the rules, but whose rules are they really? And
I loved this.
Okay.
I really did. Like, this is a kind of cliched speech in a lot of ways, like kind of similar to the Goodfellas, like wolves, sheep thing.
Yep.
But the way that he delivers it specifically, well, how do you sleep at night? I'll tell you how, because I know who I am. That line in particular hit home for me. That I think a lot of people imagine that, the kind of like criminal with a heart of gold thing, which they totally did with Boyd, like in terms of us liking him, but they never pretended that he ever hesitated about what he did, so it's not really something that I feel like was that big on this show, but it is a kind of thing that I think we like to imagine. People do what they do, but they're like sorry for it and conflicted about it. And that's really true, that they've never shown Boyd be conflicted at all. He has been regretful that he has to do something because he likes a person or just doesn't want to have to deal with this bullshit right now. But he has never like pulled the trigger and seemed to regret it. And if you have come to terms with, I am what many people would call a bad person. I can kill a human being and sleep perfectly well at night. I can kill a human being because I want their property. I can kill a human being because they are going to be disloyal to me or have been disloyal to me. I know that about myself, and I am okay with it because I truly believe this is what I need to do to get what I want. And getting what I want is priority number one. I completely believe that is enough for some people to be able to be at peace with what they're doing. And I never really stopped to think about it in terms of his psychology around that, because he grew up around criminals. He grew up being brought up by criminals. So it never really needed to be explained, But when he's kind of an explanation is being demanded of him in a way by a layman, for lack of a better word, a upright citizen, I feel like this is the best way that he could explain it. Is just like, I am who I am, and I've come to accept that a long time ago. And also, you think you're better than me because you play by the rules. Whose rules? Which is a fair fucking question. And I don't agree with him because I think the rules are just basic morality. Don't kill people for money. But it is kind of an existential question of like somebody decided that the morality line, killing for this is okay, killing for that is not okay. And one could argue that that's a little arbitrary. I wouldn't agree, but I get that. And I could completely get why growing up in an environment that fosters a totally different value system would make you feel like everybody else was the one whose value system was off. And that they were the ones following rules that don't really make sense. And they're the ones getting fucked because the rules don't make sense. And they just still follow the rules, even though the rules fuck them. which seems really fucking stupid. And, you know, for someone like me, who is a proud rule follower, I love rules. They're my favorite. I cling to the rules for safety and comfort. And even though I know that they can cause me to get fucked over, I at least have the cold comfort that I was in the right, even if I get fucked over, right? But he doesn't give a shit about cold comfort. He wants practical comfort of, you know, getting the shit he deserves. So I just felt like I wish that I had heard this monologue from him like 3 seasons ago, but I kind of like that he's getting to say this shit so close to the end and just be himself right until the end. I just really liked this moment, and I felt really bad because the guy he's talking to is trying to tell him, hey, you killed someone important to me. Hey, you ever hear something? He says somebody's name.
Huck McKean, I think.
Huck McKean.
Yeah, it's a name we've never heard before. Yeah.
But all he hears is, oh, really, you're judging me? And then he just shoots the guy. I'm an outlaw. Pop. Like, it was a shock. This show is really good at having people pull the trigger at the exact moment that I'm not expecting it. Even though I know they're going to be pulling the trigger,
yeah,
I'm prepared for someone to die. The moment that it happens, they almost always edit it in such a way that it happens just a split second before I thought it would, and it startles me anyway. And this, like, he lifts the gun, and I think it's the way that it's edited that the gun is lifted, and then the camera pulls back outside the back of the car, and you just see the blood spatter.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was what shocked me, was, like, that we suddenly went far away. And it had been such an intimate moment, and then we were taken right out of it, and it was made into this really... Not distant is the wrong word. It just felt so like another check mark. This guy had been a person a second ago that he was talking to. And then he killed him, and it was just another guy that Boyd killed. You know what I mean? I thought this was really effective for somebody who's like kind of a nothing character. You know, he's just some dude that Boyd pulled over, but I thought it was really smart of the writers to remind us that Boyd has left a wake of fucking bodies behind him, whether that be from his actual self or his people or the drugs that he deals.
Yeah.
You know, there's just blood on his hands is an understatement. He's like waist deep in gore and is fine with it. Fine with it. That's pretty fucked up. And it's easy to forget because he is so likable and smart. And I forgive a lot from a smart person. I can't abide stupidity, but if somebody's really intelligent, I have a upsetting amount of leeway that I give them, you know? Yeah. And I've done that with him a lot. Anyway, I'm sorry I monologued forever.
No, that's okay. I thought it's really interesting because I like that. I do like the way it leads up to the gunshot, and I appreciate everything that Boyd is saying in that little monologue. But it really just feels to me like he isn't interested in the ballad of Boyd Crowder, but he does have, like, this is his own line of bullshit that does let him sleep at night because he feels like he knows who he is. And I don't know, to me it felt like him getting wrapped up in his own philosophy to the detriment of society. Mm-hmm. And I just give it so much. I'm not saying I give it less credit than you give it, because I don't mean to imply you're okay with him being who he is. But at the same time, I just go like, yeah, fucking whatever.
That's completely fair, though. I think that's the point, right? Is that he applies all this importance to it, when from the outside, you're just like, you just want what you want and you don't care about people. That's not that big a deal, dude. Yeah. Which is completely true also.
Yeah. It's just sort of a shitbag manifesto to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And again, and it's easy, like you said at the very first thing you said in this show is, Boyd's a bad guy. At the end of the day, as likable as he is, And yeah, as much as I have enjoyed him over 6 seasons, he's a piece of shit.
Yep. Yeah, in the end, like, when it comes to money, that's all for him, really. It looks like even with Ava, that's what it's going to be. I'm interested to see if that's true. I don't know what the fuck Boyd's going to do if he gets a hold of her. Because I want them to be like Avery and Catherine and be able to get past that shit. But I don't think that would work for the two of them. I think Avery and Catherine had the benefit of age. Where they have been through so much that they're just kind of like, you know what? I'm kind of tired and I'd like to just chill. If you're cool with just chilling and putting everything behind us now. And Boyd and Ava aren't there. You know, there's too much. It's too turbulent still. I don't think they could do that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Boyd making his statement of purpose, and there's the end of Mr. Hagen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Back at the Gremlin, Bob and Ava have heard that gunshot. And Bob tells her to stay where she is while he goes to investigate. And Ava starts to, like you thought she was panicking before, she goes into full-fledged hysteria in this car.
Yeah, this was...
And
I like... there's a moment there where I kind of thought she was gonna like peel skin off her hand to like yank her hand out of those cuffs, and I was getting a little like jumpy because I really didn't want to see that.
And eventually she's just able to use her feet as leverage to sort of, I think she breaks off the handle in the car.
Yes.
She
pulls, it's one of those oh shit handles, and she just yanks it. Thank God that car is old, because she could not pull that off now if it were a new car.
I walked right over. The reason that she does eventually find the inner strength to break out is as soon as Bob disappears off screen, basically, you hear pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
And we never leave Ava's side, so just right from her point of view, we have to listen to that.
Yeah, I would be doing exactly what she's doing.
Yeah. And so she's able to twist herself out of that. She grabs the backpack from the back seat and she takes off in the other direction.
Oh, Ava, I'm sorry, girl, but you need to leave that fucking money. I wish she would just, like, open the bag, take out a couple stacks, get out.
Yeah.
Or drag it into the woods, bury it, grab a couple stacks, and get out. And then you can come back for it if you're dumb enough to do that.
You have been on that burial train for as long as she's been dragging around that money.
Listen. Am I wrong? You can't
You're not
even
wrong.
say I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. So, yeah, but she is not quite so willing to part with that. Now, in the dark, again, it's been a while, I guess, Raylan and Boyd suddenly realize they're right near each other in this little wooded area. And my English major brain's going like, oh, it's like the Garden of Gethsemane, this moment of truth and reconciliation and shit. And really, it's not really that. But it is them crouching behind rocks and trees and shouting to one another and firing off their guns occasionally.
Yeah. It just evolves, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
We're just in the woods fucking shooting at random now.
Yep, pretty much. And, and they sort of go back and forth. I do like it starts with Boyd behind a rock saying, "Goddamn, Raylan, how'd you know I wasn't some Boy Scout looking for his tent?" and Raylan's answer is, "Your teeth glow in the dark."
I forgot that line. Oh my God. I was talking to somebody about Walton Goggins, and they were Googling them, and they were like, why is the first result Walton Goggins' teeth? And I started fucking dying. Because he didn't know the actor. Like, I said his name. He was like, I don't know who that is. And then he said that, and I fell out. I could not believe that was the autofill from Google. Yeah,
I like that. But the conversation eventually kind of boils down to how well these guys know each other. Where there's a little bit of the you are me and I am you. But Boyd kind of boils it down to you just want to win. Yeah. Raylan, you're willing to give up everything just so you could say you won. And Raylan's counter is you just want money more than your girl, more than, justice, more than peace, more than anything. You just want your money.
Yeah.
And they aren't wrong.
No.
You go back to the Justified Character Bible, and I'm sure that those are the first words under their names.
Oh, God, it makes me so crazy.
Men, am I right?
Am I right? But, I mean, yeah, the money, it just really does come down to that for, like, everybody on this show. It's $10 million. Like, I can't even really... It makes me infuriated because don't you just want some peace and quiet? But, of course, they don't fucking want peace and quiet, or they wouldn't be criminals. Like, you don't get peace and quiet by being a fucking criminal. You get money. That's why you do it.
So, speaking of money, I had this flash in my head of, what if the next episode is just like, it's a mad world? It's Raylan and Ava and Boyd and the army of folk and everybody and Avery just frantically digging up the town looking for money.
Oh my God. I wouldn't even be like... If word got out that there was $10 million buried somewhere in the woods, can you imagine?
Under a giant T.
Oh, that would turn into some fucking like. It would look like the apocalypse out there.
Yes.
People in weird, like, makeshift armor and guns and just 10 million. Forget it.
And just holes everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. So they have their little, I don't know, a tete-a-tete. Is that what that is? Am I using that correctly?
Yeah, I think so.
Go me. So they get interrupted though by this weak little cry for help from off screen, and Boyd goes, "Oh yeah, that's probably Bob." And Raylan says, "Why would that be Bob?" And it's because, oh yeah, I shot him a couple of times down at the trailhead. He might even still be alive. You should go see if you can help him.
Oh, brother.
And Raylan says Bob can take care of himself. And Boyd, says, like, if you really believe that you should go get me instead of go helping this dying man, then I have already won. It's a very Star Wars thing of him to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's true, though. Like, if he just leaves him there...
Once again, is Raylan a good guy or not? And if he is a good guy, then he is gonna go find Bob. And Raylan makes his decision, and to quote you, Boyd scampers off into the darkness.
Scampered.
So we then go to Ava, who has finally left the mountain and gets onto the street and immediately comes face to face with a cop car.
Yeah.
And
I just got so mad. I felt so bad.
And it's not just any cop. These are Markham's crooked cops, who also immediately fire at her, which is just kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I guess they assume that, like, they're working for Avery anyway, so even if they hit her, like, he could probably cover for them so they won't get in trouble.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
Basically, do what you want,
Yeah. And, that shot stops her cold, and they get her, again, on her knees, hands behind her back, the whole deal. They find all this money in her backpack, and then they let her know, yeah, by the way, we work for Avery Markham. And she flips out. She gets one of them in the balls.
Yeah.
But not before, they're able to re-subdue her, or the other guy is able to re-subdue her.
Yeah, I was really hoping she'd be able to make a run for it, but also I'm tired of seeing Ava running in the woods.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want her to get away, but this needs to move on to stage 3 or whatever.
It's very Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Right.
Yeah.
And she drops
the gator tooth necklace.
Yeah, which, okay. It just feels like such a...
They're dropping the leaves of Lorien in the hope that somebody finds.
But I guess, all right, sure.
It's a little TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But she gets led away by the dirty cops. And we leave Ava and go back to Loretta's barn, where Avery shows up.
Fucking Boone, man. Was I supposed to take him to the hospital? The look that he gives him.
That Boone gives Avery? Or that Avery gives Boone?
That Boone gives Avery.
Yeah.
When he's saying that line. Like,
he's so amused by that idea.
God.
Yeah, and Avery has... And I asked because Avery has, like, no expression. And he's like, no, you are supposed to shoot him dead, dummy. And again, just in case we forgot Avery was a bad guy, he immediately shoots the teenager and finishes him off. And we, during that moment, are watching Loretta, who just looks like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's, that's
she's
not
trying
what she
to hold
intends.
it together, but yeah,
Yeah. Well, and it's a little bit what Boyd was saying about his manifesto there, his life of crime. This is what this is. And if this is what she wants, then yeah, this is part of it. I guarantee you she did not hire Derek with the idea that he might get shot and killed.
Yeah.
Maybe she knew that, but she didn't know it.
No, I really think that I don't even want to say that she underestimated Boone, because I think she knows what Boone is.
Yeah.
I just, you're that age, you just never think the worst case is going to happen.
That's it. Absolutely. That's I go on these arguments occasionally from people and about, whenever it comes up, we should lower the voting age because, there's that West Wing episode where they talk about lowering the voting age. Why shouldn't blah, 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 blah. And I always think back to my ed psych class where they said that the part of your brain that recognizes consequences doesn't generally develop until you're 24.
Mm-hmm.
And we wonder why teenagers are idiots, and we wonder why people, do dumb stuff in college, because they genuinely are not thinking about consequences.
Yeah. Because
their brain isn't mature enough yet. And all due respect to Loretta, who also acquits herself very well in this scene. Yeah, there's no way. She hired him to be a bodyguard against a killer without ever really thinking that this guy was going to get killed.
Yeah, I feel bad for this kid because I don't think he understood what she's a kid, but he is a kid who I don't think grew up in the world she did either.
No.
So I just, in general, I don't think he understood how for real what she's involved in is.
Yeah, he's a tool. But
in the most literal sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that is the end of Derek. And then Avery turns his attention to Loretta. And the whole reason that this is happening, Avery wants Loretta because Ava stole his money from Boyd, and Boyd stole it from him, and Boyd is Loretta's business partner. So maybe, just maybe, Ava and Loretta conspired together on this. Now, do you think he's being honest about that? It was this whole deal here? Or is he using this as a convenient reason to back her into a corner?
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty convoluted thinking.
Right. Yeah, I just don't, You're going to take your opportunities where you can, but if you can make it seem like it was all part of my master plan, then that's great. So why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah, and I guess I wasn't even really thinking about that until I started saying it out loud. And that's like a James Bond plot of like, well, this person does this, that means this person does this, which means this person must be, Mr. Big. He was a Bond villain. Live and let die. He got blown up by a shark exploding bullet.
I know, it's just like, I always think of Sex and the City.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just like, I know that he came first, but that's not the one that I think of, and it's just funny. Because he is kind of a supervillain in my eyes also. Okay.
So Markham then says, and actually, my cop buddies already have Ava. So, Loretta, I don't really need you, but you've got 30 seconds to change my mind. And like I said, she does pretty well. She doesn't skip a beat.
Mm-hmm.
And talks about all of the advantages to not killing her. And how she's a skilled pot grower. She's got this expanding network of distributors. Mm-hmm. She's Harlan through and through. She convinced the people to like Boyd, and so she can convince them to like you.
Yeah, I mean, I think having a connection to the community in a place that is so community driven is never a bad idea. And I honestly, in a way, don't think he intended to kill her at all. I think it was just, I really need you to agree to do this. And it would probably work the best if you thought it was your own idea. So here's the rope, you hang yourself. And, you know, I think she is aware that's what's happening too. She's not stupid, but she really has no other choice. So
yeah, I will say, even if the scene ended in this exact same place, even with her giving most of this same speech, I would like to have seen her crack a little bit here.
I understand that. I almost would like if there was a moment after they walk away from her where she was allowed to just kind of flip out.
Yes.
But the scene goes directly from her and Avery together.
Yeah.
So it would be cool if we got to have just, because we haven't gotten to know her outside of the context of, you know, somebody bullying her, really.
Yeah.
You know, there's always some shit going on with her.
Yeah. And she's always so stoic and so stone-faced and so, you know, just so calm, cool, and collected. And that, well, we've talked before about how unrealistic she is as a character.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said before that I'm okay with that. But all the same, everyone has it together until suddenly you don't have to anymore. And I would love to get that from her for just a moment.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. She finishes this off, and Avery says, you know, the first time I saw you, I liked you. And she reminds him a little of Catherine, and before that, a little of Mags Bennett. And he should keep her in anyway because Boone here is sweet on you. And that's when we do see her. She swallows. And there's a twitch of a smile.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I don't like it.
Nope. Nope. Not at all.
I just don't like the term sweet on you when it's being used. Like, it sounds so innocent and fucking Boone. There may as well be, like, blood at the corners of his mouth when he's smiling at her, you know? Like...
Oh, okay. I was going to go for giant flashing neon sign that says erection. Erection.
Oh, no! Oh, Alan. Oh, no. Oh.
That's where my head went, and maybe shame on me, but...
I mean, I think really, when you come down to it, both of us are saying the same thing.
I think so.
Because if he had blood at the corners of his mouth, I'm pretty sure he'd have an erection too.
So anyway, we then go back to Raylan, who has found the badly wounded Bob Sweeney. He's been shot in the shoulder and the gut, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries his best to apply first aid. He gets Bob into the Crown Vic, takes off for the hospital. And Bob is asking him to ask him trivia questions.
Why won't Raylan cooperate? Just fucking humor the guy, Raylan. Jesus, he's
Raylan
dying.
doesn't know trivia. Raylan has no idea.
He doesn't have to because Bob will.
I suppose so. But Raylan, kind of dismisses him and calls ahead to the emergency room. And he also asks them to, put him through to the U.S. Marshal Service because he knows where Boyd Crowder is.
They call him Blush.
Yeah.
I just love it. Indiana Jones is not the trivia I was expecting, but yeah, there it is.
Same. Patton Oswalt's just amazing. I love him as a being. He's so great.
He is really good in this.
So we then go to our last two scenes. The first is Zachariah back at Groom's cabin, still there and still waiting. And he hears someone approach, and he sees a shape out on the porch and points a shotgun towards the door and fires as soon as the handle jiggles. And then when he goes out to see what he's hit, he is brought down by a shot to his knee.
Fucking dumbass. The whole point is that you were defending a fortress, and then you walk the fuck out of the fortress like a fucking idiot. You deserve what you got.
Yeah. Yeah. But Boyd comes over and disarms him and demands to know what happened to Ava and to his money. Mm-hmm. And Zachariah curses him out a little bit and then opens his coat to reveal that he has lined himself with explosives.
Yo, that's pretty rad.
Yeah. And then, boom.
Oh, also, Boyd is, like, holding himself like he got shot, which we hadn't, like, before this, you know.
Oh, yeah, his left arm there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we heard the shots with Constable Bob, but we didn't see what happened. So
that's true.
I am kind of gratified to see that I think Constable Bob got him at least a little bit.
Do you think it was Bob or do you think it was Raylan?
Maybe it was Raylan. Let me think it was Bob. I want to say Bob.
Good job, Bob. Purple heart for you.
Right.
But yeah, Zachariah detonates himself. Big bada boom. And Boyd is thrown. He throws himself to the ground, I guess. He's hurt, but he is alive. Oh, well.
Yeah. I'm just... Zachariah did not need to show it to him. He could have just pulled the damn thing from inside his coat.
He really should have. Yeah.
It's fun. Like, I get for the show, Boyd can't die. But I feel like it would have been kind of... I mean, also... If he had just pulled it, we wouldn't have known what the fuck happened as an audience either. So I get
it. That's awesome.
A sudden explosion, and I'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Turns out Zachariah made of C4. Yeah, he lost most of his ribs in they replaced it with plastic explosive.
He worked in the mine so long, you don't know where the C4 ends and the man begins.
Yeah, he replaced his dentist used all blasting caps on his teeth.
Get it? Caps. Guys, you get what he did there? Do you hear it?
Clever. So our very last scene is Raylan and the Crown Vic screeching into the hospital parking lot, and the hospital people are there waiting for him, and they load Bob into a gurney and head him inside. And as Raylan turns around, he discovers that he is at gunpoint because we see cops in the background of the scene.
Yeah.
And they say, "Raylan Givens?" And the last line is, "I don't suppose you'd believe me if I said no."
What an ending. Raylan, what you doing? Oh, no, baby. What is you doing?
And and that is it. That leads us into the series finale of Justified.
I'm just blown away how good this season has been, and I'm really mad that it's almost over.
I know, but I promise you the next one's a good one.
I believe you. I really do.
So one episode away from the end of this series. What has there been anything this season you've been waiting for that hasn't happened, or something that you expect to happen that's going to be coming up?
Honestly, there are so many like side characters and like little plots that I feel like there's probably a million things that could come up. But because I feel like a lot of shows do that thing where they're like, "Hey, we're in the end of the season, time to pull back in people and shit that you forgot all about."
Okay.
But I kind of don't want them to do that.
You think they're going to focus in?
I hope they do. Because
okay.
I feel like what they've got going on right now is so good because it's so focused. You know, like, I always think that focusing is a smart idea for any show. You can spread out for a little bit to give us a sense of like who you're dealing with, but you don't need to. I feel like sometimes shows fall into this trap of thinking like the more complex and the more people, the like more sophisticated it is.
Okay.
And I think that has been only made worse by shows like Game of Thrones and whatnot. That's sorry, go ahead.
So you don't think that Battlestar Galactica needed a 3-hour finale?
Listen. BSG is one of those shows that I like love hate. You know, like
That's fair.
I don't hate it really, but I really like side eye it a lot.
I love it to death, but it's a mess. That's also part of why I love it, is that it's a giant mess.
Yeah, that's
by
fair.
the end of it. Anyway, I'm sorry. Back to Justified.
Yeah. Well, I just feel like there's a lot. This show has a lot going on, but they've spaced it out over seasons, so it doesn't feel like it's so like they bit off so much. And I really just don't want, most of the seasons ended with the who's of that season dead. So it's not like they have this huge well to draw from really in the end anyway. But True. I just don't want them to be a little hokey, I guess.
Yeah.
And pull somebody out that I'm like, what? Come on, because I just think the characters that we're dealing with right now we are down to the most interesting so far on this show as it
Agreed.
is, So let's just work with what we've got. And I hope that's what they decide to do. And I also just don't want fucking Duffy to die. Those are my main objectives here. So.
Well, let me ask you about your Deadpool here. So let's start with the person who is currently in the most danger of death. How about Bob?
Poor
Live or
Bob.
die?
Live.
Okay. Avery.
Die. Are you writing these down?
I am. All right. And Loretta.
Live.
Okay. Duffy. Now, what do you want? What do you think?
Live. I believe.
Vasquez.
Oh, God. Live, probably. He's too annoying to die.
Rachel?
Live. She better not die. That would be such bullshit. I'd be so mad.
Tim?
Live.
Okay. Art?
Live?
Question mark. Ava?
Live? I'm saying live to everybody, but I kind of feel like most people are going to get out of this.
Okay. Boyd?
Live. I bet.
All right.
Same reason as Vasquez.
And Raylan, does he make it out of Harlan alive?
Yeah.
All right, so you're saying everybody lives except Avery.
And Boone. Boone will die.
Oh, and Boone, of course. I'm sorry, I forgot Boone. All right, so just Avery and Boone.
I swear
Everyone
to God,
else.
If Art dies, I'm going to be so mad. Like, I kind of get... I would kind of get it if they decided to have him die. Like, it's sort of a... What do you call it? When they have, like, the mentor dies so that the student can take over. Like, but it just would be so cheap to me. I would hate it.
Fair enough. But okay.
And especially because I feel like that's what you do when you like have somebody at the beginning of their journey.
Yeah.
You can't just have that happen now after Raylan has just fucked up for 6 seasons. Like he's about to be arrested. There's no passing of the torch happening there?
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So this isn't going to go Reservoir Dogs, is what you're saying.
I hope not. I don't think this is that kind of show. Like, they kill plenty, and they kill by surprise a lot of the time, and they get you off guard. But it's usually people that are very disposable that you can see. It never feels like they're just trying to shock you. It feels like they are setting up character stuff when they do it, or they're setting up plot points. Mm-hmm. And it never feels like the kind of thing where, well, we're just going to kill so that you guys know we mean business. And I feel like if they just killed a bunch of people in the finale, that's what that would feel like to me. Do you know what I mean? Just kind of like,
sure.
We're just going wild for the fun. Like,
this is true. Plenty of shows do it.
Yeah. I just hope that they don't do that. Cause I mean, like, if they did and they pulled it off, then, you know, I will be willing to acknowledge that. But it can often feel really cheap. So I would be, right. I'm just cautious. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, we will figure out how well you know Justified. Final exam next week.
I can't believe this is coming already.
I know. It's been a long time. We've been on this show for over a year.
Yeah. Oh, and guys, it's going to be, Alan and I are going to be doing this live on YouTube Live. So if y'all want to join us, there's an event on Facebook. And also it's already on YouTube as like an event that's coming up for the Unspoiled channel. If you want to, cause you can like set a reminder for YouTube to remind you, hey, this is starting in 10 minutes. But yeah, it's going to be on Saturday, November 4th at 7 PM my time. I think is what I put it for.
So 8 PM Eastern Standard Time.
Correct. And yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything else about that I wanted to share, but I think that's it.
Well, we also decide it's not just for patrons, correct? This isn't anybody.
No, yeah, that's open for everybody. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so please come join us.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. All right. Well, I'm going to say hi to new patrons real quick, and then we can wrap up.
Let's do it.
So hello this week to Linda Espinosa, Kathleen Mahan, Ciro Brasil, Emma Senner, Jackie Gunn, Stacy Thomas, Kimberly Jones, and Brian Dickey. I think all became patrons. Actually, Brian, I think you've been one. So not that
Welcome, guys.
Not that I'm saying get lost, Brian, or anything like that. But yeah, welcome to all of you guys. Really happy to have you. I hope that you have been enjoying your patrons only stuff. I had a few people join recently and messaged me to get access to like Jessica Jones and whatnot. So hopefully y'all are liking those and the Unspooled episodes. Did you listen to any of the Unspooled yet there, Alan?
You sent me the first one and I totally didn't. I suck.
It's fine. You just suck. Whatever. But yeah, I really do appreciate it. All of you who have become patrons, and I'm really excited to see that I have had a little bit of an uptick in downloads and whatnot, likes on Facebook as well, since doing a book club episode with the gentleman from Overdue.
Yeah, I had that downloaded. I'm excited to listen to it.
It's really fun. And I got a message today. Somebody from the Flophouse, like from the Flophouse Facebook group, friended me. And then I posted today a new episode of Justified, which goes on to my private feed as well from Spreaker. It like auto posts. Today I posted a Justified episode. And he commented and was like, holy shit, this is you? I just subscribed to this show. I was like, oh, no shit. What's up? I don't think he had actually started listening to it yet. He just like was looking for a Justified show, and it like showed up at the top of the pile. And he said it was one of like 2, I think, that he subscribed to or something.
Nice. Well, welcome to the show. It's a message from the past.
Right? Yeah. By the time he listens to this, it's going to have been like a year or something. But yeah, I hope that all of you guys have been enjoying our coverage of this. Let me see if we got a new review. I don't think we did, but you know, I'm trying to be optimistic here. And I feel, oh, you know what? I had a couple of other announcements that, for people who are interested in some of the other stuff that's going to be coming up on October 27th at like 2 a.m. Central Time. Stranger Things is going to be dropping.
Oh, right.
On Netflix, the second season. And I'm going to binge the shit out of it. That is tomorrow.
So it's tomorrow at 2 a.m. When we wake up tomorrow morning, it will be on there.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
And I am planning to spend most of the day watching that and working on my Halloween costume because I have to sew a wig forever. And I'm going to be covering that again with Maggie, who is the unspoiled one. And that's going to start, we're going to be posting new episodes by, next week for patrons and the week after for non-patrons. So I'm pretty stoked because I really enjoy that show. And also, Orphan Black is a show I've been covering with Owen. We do not have any new reviews, BT dubs. Guys, get on that. Come on.
Sad.
But Orphan Black I had been covering with Owen, and Owen's schedule is so erratic that we just couldn't give that show the attention that it deserves. And finally, we talked about it, and he agreed that I should move on and have Maggie co-host that with me. So Owen and I are the first 2.5 seasons, and then Maggie's picking up. We're going to start doing that one together after we finish Twin Peaks, which will be over in January. Cool. And Maggie is currently binging all of Orphan Black and really enjoying it, which I knew she would. Orphan Black is a pretty great show.
I really need to check it out.
It's a little bit at points it can get a little overcomplicated, but it tends to get into a knot and then smooth itself back out again and then knot itself for a brief time. So the overcomplicated stuff doesn't ever feel like it lasts for too long that you're getting confused, but it is a very complex story because there's a million people. And almost half of them are played by the same woman. It's ridiculous. She's so good. And then I'm going to be changing up what I'm doing with Harry Potter. We're doing the reread right now, and Rashawn and I are going to finish up the reread of Azkaban, and then we are going to take a break and cover Westworld together. And Westworld is supposed to come back for its second season in the spring of 2018, which, if we started Westworld in mid-January like we plan, by the time we're done, we're going to be into springtime, and it might be starting its second season by the time we're done, which means we'll be starting second season in real time, which would be pretty rad. Cool. I don't know how that'll work out, but, we'll see. And then when we are done with Westworld, we are going to come back for the Harry Potter reread, patrons only. That is not going to be posting to the iTunes feed anymore. So everybody's going to cry and yell at me and probably be upset. But I have to do what I have to do to make a living. So I hope y'all can understand that. It's my most popular show. We did 3 book rereads, available for everybody. We did a bunch of stuff. And I think this is fair. And once we're done with the rereads, we're going to delve into some other stuff for patrons only, like the Fantastic Beasts books and movie, and probably read Cursed Child and a bunch of other stuff. So, I just wanted to let you all know. And this is all in a newsletter that I sent out also. So if you're a subscriber, you probably know this stuff already, unless you didn't read it, which you should. Hi. And the last thing is that I'm doing a new thing at Christmas time for patrons. Did you see this, Alan?
Oh, I was, I'm a part of it. I've answered none of the other questions you've put up since I joined, but
I'm pretty stoked about this. So apparently everyone there is, Iceland has this thing, called the Jólabókaflóð, which means Christmas book flood. Iceland has the most books published per capita of any country in the world. And it is a Christmas tradition to give people books as gifts. And then you spend Christmas Eve reading new books and eating chocolate and waiting for Santa. Which I think sounds like the best fucking Christmas Eve ever. And I shared this with some people, and they all seem to agree in the patrons group. And we have decided that we are going to do a round-robin Secret Santa type deal for books in the patrons group. So if you are a patron and you're interested in that, there's a link to the specific, Bookshare group that you can find and join. And we're going to be making a questionnaire asking people what their favorite authors are, favorite genres to avoid, what country they live in, if they want to do international shipping or if they'd rather not, because I know a lot of people live abroad and buying books and shipping like from Australia to Finland would be a fortune. And also there's going to be options if you would rather have an ebook versus an actual paper book. So somebody could send that really easily. Or if you would rather have an audiobook, because I know for somebody like Owen, he doesn't get to sit down and read very often, but an audiobook he would love. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways to consume books nowadays. And, I think this will be really cool. And I'm hoping that it's like, I'm going to have the option for people to just make a wish list if they would like, but I'm hoping that people are open to just getting surprised, because that's kind of my deal, is like some of the books that I loved the most in my life were gifts that I didn't ask for, and they wound up being great. And I just would never have chosen them, you know, on my own. So I'm hoping that we can have a little bit of that. And also, like, I'm a big fan of beautiful, like, glossy illustrated books, or books with like a lot of photography in them. So if I get somebody who is my, you know, Secret Santa person that I'm buying for, I might get them something a little off the beaten path in terms of like, it won't necessarily be a straightforward narrative book or novel, or maybe it will, but it'll be like really neatly illustrated or something. I don't know. But that's the kind of book that I find to be a like really compelling gift and something that you keep and love. And some people will just order it from Amazon and have it shipped to the person, and they'll never touch it. And other people will buy it, wrap it, write a little note in it, include some, you know, tins of cocoa and a mug, and then send a little like book care package off. And everybody's going to have different like options on the questionnaire for what they would like to participate in and what they'd like to receive. So hopefully we get people paired up that are compatible. And, I'm just really excited about this. I think they'll make Christmas really fun and special and neat. And I would like to have it be a tradition from here on out, and to just like collect books from listeners and stuff. That'd be fun.
Totally.
So, yeah. So if you're a patron, check that out. And if you're not a patron and you want to be part of that, go to patreon.com/unspoiled and pledge whatever you want. Because no matter what level you're at, you're going to get access to the Harry Potter stuff, and you're going to get access to any projects like that. So check that out. I talked for like ever and my mouth is very dry, so I'm done now. Do you have anything to add, sir?
Nothing new. I am very excited about the book swap thing. I think it's cool. I've done stuff like this before. And I also think it's kind of awesome that you already seem to have this entire thing mapped out like 2 months in advance in your head. And that's cool, because I've been a part of ones that were not nearly that well put together.
Oh.
So,
well, thanks.
Yeah. And I am really looking forward to the show next Saturday. I am hoping people that people show up. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think that you should, follow me on Twitter, because I will be hyping myself up for it over the next week. I am at Al Kingsley, and come check me out.
Whoop, whoop. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. I love you all. You're the best. And we will see you soon, hopefully in person. Well, kind of. Live. With the finale of Justified. Holy shit. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you next week. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, you want some. I'm fighting for my soul. God, get at you, boy. You try to go God, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, you want some.
I see them long, hard times to come.
My life is ill, son. Prepared to kill, son. Paradox of pain, baby, it was real, son. Lonely traveler, ain't trying to value you, but if you're feeling tough, dog, I walk up all challenges.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.